Blood Hunters, Mage Rebellion Chapter 1. Abbey. With the rumors of war on the horizon, the Hunters' Order were out in full force, looking for any traces of magic, trying to contain it, or if need be, destroy it. The Hunters weren't excluded from this process either. The Dark Order, the most dangerous of the Hunters' Orders, were on that list. The other orders all agreed that the Dark Order was to be locked away until we can confirm that they had nothing to do with this rebellion. I continued to walk around namelessly, Huntsman's Keep, and I saw men, women, and children all being locked up. It was kind of a cruel fate, I'm not gonna lie. Connor walked up to me and asked, "Is this really necessary?" Connor, you know as well as I do that you and your siblings are magical. Our nightmare blood isn't that special. Nightmare blood is magical in nature. You may not think so, but it is what it is. But you, above everyone else, should know that we fight for the Hunter's Order. Yes, I believe you guys are covered, but it's a completely different story trying to convince all the other Hunter's Orders. I wish it was a little simpler, but to be honest, my hands are tied. There's nothing I can do. Fine. Connor walked back to Kyle and Sarah and told them the news. They both looked very annoyed, and honestly, I don't blame them. Having been born a way that you can't control, and now everyone thinks you're an enemy, can be quite frustrating. We're all under a lot of stress, and until we know who we can trust, we can't take chances. I walked through Huntsman's Keep, and I found Zach and Sam talking. It was interesting. You see, in order to contain this magic, and in order to prevent people from, well, using it for their own sick and twisted ways, the Dark Order had a place they called the Dreamscape. I'm not sure exactly what it was or what made this place so special, but it's apparently where you have your dreams. Your dreams and magic are very heavily connected. You take away the dreams, you take away the magic. It's a horrible fate that I don't wish upon my worst enemy, but alas, it is what it is. I walked over to Zach and Sam. I heard the end of a conversation, I think. Sam said, "What are we going to do?" I walked over and asked, "What's going on?" Sam then said, expressionless, "We're trying to figure out what to do with all the magical artifacts that the ambassadors of the Arcane have sent our way." The ambassadors of Arcane? That is interesting. I didn't realize that the ambassadors were a part of this. The ambassadors usually keep to themselves, but they like to hone the talents of most magic users. The fact that they're sending us the artifacts means that they're desperate to prove their loyalty to us. The reason we're able to take control of the ambassadors of Arcane is because of a pact made long ago. Zach added, "Well, we can't leave them there. It would be too dangerous. We can't bring them here, because then they'll try to claim it." I cut them off and said, "That means death either way." Both of them nodded. I couldn't think of anything else that could help us at the time. "How about the weapons masters?" Sam said, "They would never agree to something like that. It would be too dangerous and honestly too risky." Before anything else could be said, a hunter ran up to us and said, "We have a grandchild of death." Worry jumped across my face. Zach asked, "Where are they?" Sam, although he never expressed fear in the traditional sense, I knew he feared it above everything else. "In the circle of containment, ma'am." We ran as fast as we could to the circle of containment. It is filled with powerful runes and seals to help keep anything inside, some of the oldest and most dangerous. I saw a small girl, no older than 12 it looked like. Fear and tears filled her eyes. "Mommy? Daddy? Where are you?" Clearly terrified. The hunter asked, "What should we do with her, Huntsmaster? Send her to the Dreamscape?" Hearing this, she began to cry, and for a moment, I finally realized the truth. I saw myself in her. I felt guilty. For the first time in a long, long time, I finally felt guilty. I knew what I had to do. "Let her go," I said in a harsh tone. As the coldness of my voice filled the air, it shut up everyone. Zack asked, "What? Why?" "She's just a little girl. Can't you see she's scared? She's a grandchild of death." I studied the room. They were ready to restrain me if need be. But I couldn't let them send this kid to the Dreamscape. It would destroy every part of her. I had to find a way to save this girl. I had to protect her. The girl grabbed my hand, obviously looking for protection from me. I saw a man, dressed in black. He wasn't there before, but now he was. Fear shot across my face, and I began to realize something was very off about this man. He stared at me, one finger to his mouth, then walked over and whispered in my ear, "Help is on its way. You will know what to do." I didn't know what else to say. His voice was so cold. It was colder than snow. Zack said, "Do you really want to do this, Abby?" I nodded, in understanding of this man, and to answer Zack's question. The man said, "Good. I will remember this. Take the girl to her family. I will do the rest." Before saying anything, Connor ran in and yelled, "What is the meaning of this?" "There is your help. Good luck." The man walked over to Connor and whispered something in his ear. I couldn't make it out. Then he looked at me and winked. "What are you doing here, Connor?" "Putting an end to this. This is ridiculous. This girl is not evil," Connor said, reaching for his sword. Zack then placed his hands on his gun, ready to fight. "She's a grandchild of death." "That's no excuse," Connor said. I looked at this scene and things were getting out of hand. Then I said, "Look at us, Zachary." I never used his full name unless I was trying to reason with him, and he knew it. "I'm doing this to protect humanity." "Well, what happens when we lose our humanity in the process, Zachary?" "I want the same thing, but this goes too far. She's a scared little girl. What are we going to do with her?" He had nothing for me. Sam pointed an arrow at the girl. Her hand grip got stronger around mine. I looked at Sam and said, "Sam, please. You know this is wrong. And you know that we are wrong to contain this." "Coming from you? That is quite impressive. You were okay with the others, and yet, what makes this girl different?" Blasted. I hated the fact that he was right about this. Not only that, she is far more dangerous than most magic users, and you know it too. I understood that they were calling me out on my hypocrisy. There was nothing I could do. There was nothing I could say that would make this situation better. Then Connor said, "Let this be the start, then. The start of what? Zack asked. We hold to these old ways of the Hunter's Order. All you want is control. I know that a grandchild of death is dangerous, but blasted, this is too much. Even the mages would not be able to resist using this against us. Think about it. It will add to their conviction. We can't allow that. If we let go of this now, then maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to finally show people we're not just mindless serial killers. Zack, you obviously need to see my reasoning on this. I'm not gonna lie, that was a lot better than I was expecting. He certainly knew exactly what to say and how to say it. Whatever that man said about him being my help, he was right. Zack stood there for a minute, unable to react. Sam put his bow down and said, "You make a strong case. But when the time comes, will you be able to back it up?" Connor nodded. Then Zack said, putting his finger to his face, "If this ends up poorly and other people get hurt because of this, I am holding you personally responsible." Connor nodded again. The two walked out of the room, and so did I. Connor was the last to leave, and he said, "Let's see what we can find." I looked at the girl, her eyes still filled with tears. I said, "Let's go find your mommy and daddy, okay?" She nodded, but she never let go of my hand as we looked around. I looked around, and then I said to Connor, "Thank you for coming. I really needed that help." He nodded. Then I heard the little girl say, "Mommy! Daddy!" She let go of my hand and ran over to a couple. They got on their knees and hugged her. She pointed to me. Her smile was the largest I had ever seen. You helped our little girl." I nodded and then said, "I couldn't just stand by and watch this injustice anymore." The father held out his hand. I shook. "I'm happy I could have helped." Something about that felt wrong, yet good at the same time. A hand was placed on my shoulder from the mom, ready to cry, and she hugged me as tightly as she could. "Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. We don't know what we would have done without our little girl." Something felt off about that as well. Then Connor said, "We're just happy that she's safe. Now, you two better get out of here before there are repercussions, or before they change their mind." He said to me, "Felt good, huh?" It felt odd. I know we're fighting for humanity, but this is different, I know exactly what you mean. But alas, we can't allow ourselves to be, we can't allow ourselves to be distracted. Who was that next to you? If I told you, would you believe me? What are you talking about? What was she? A grandchild of death? He stared at me with a smile. Then it finally hits. Death? That was blasted death? Yes, it was. Death. The idea of him being some sort of entity. The fact that there's an entity behind the idea of death. The implications of this would be extreme to no end. There is no way I can honestly say safely that death itself walked into the room. This just fills me with more questions than answers, Connor. But before I could say anything, before anyone could say anything, I heard that there was orders. Orders. It was from Zack. They were releasing the prisoners. Everyone. They didn't want to say it, but they were prisoners. Blasted. This was cruelty at its finest. Those orders came rather quickly, I said. But then, before anything else happened, a man walked in. I knew exactly who this man was. He was feared and powerful above every other hunter. No hunter was truly able to be this. Gabriel Temple. Most of us just call him Temple. He walked over. He had a very small frame. He was a much older man, and he walked with a cane. Strands of hair remained, but I knew he was dangerous, and everyone else in the Blasted Hunters Order knew it too. He walked over and said, "So, you two are the reason that this is finally coming to an end." I nodded. Said, "Gabriel, please don't be angry with us. We did what only was right." "You two, with me, now." Oh, blasted. That was deeply troubling. When Gabriel Temple gave you a command, you listened. You didn't do anything else. It was somewhat of fear and force of will. He forced his will upon us. We walked back into the room with a circle of containment. We sat down as he stared at us. "Now, what in the world could possibly have convinced you that that was a smart idea?" Gabriel, I got nothing else to add. I got nothing to say. It's just, we can't really tell you." "Why not?" "Well, she was a child, okay? She was a grandchild of death. Yes, and she was just a child. She could be learning how to use her powers for good instead of evil." And Connor stepped in and said, "He was death. Death came and asked for our hand to protect her." "Death? Death? Why didn't you just start with that?" "I'm sorry, what? I'm so very confused." "Death and I have been friends for a long time. Longer than both of you have been alive. Oh, speak of the devil and he shall appear. Hello, my friend. It has been far too long." He stared at the wall. I wasn't sure what to make of it, but if Gabriel Temple was having a conversation with an extraterrestrial spirit, I wasn't sure, and I wasn't going to ask questions. Of course. I know that this was all just one big misunderstanding. I get it. I'm more confused than anything. Connor, what's going on? Take 3 guesses who's in the room. Death? Correct. Why is Death here? He came to thank us. How can you see him and yet I can't? How can both you and Gabriel see him? The boy has the touch of death. Touch of death? Connor held out his necklace. It was a strange little round symbol with 3 little grooves around the side and 1 gem slot in the center. He stared at it for a moment, and then a blackness so dark that nothing could escape it. It was like staring into someone's very corrupted soul. It started to swell around the darkness and then form itself into a gem while locking itself into the main slot. He tucked the amulet back into the center of his shirt and then looked at me with disgust. I wasn't sure what caused him to look at me like that, and I wasn't sure if I wanted the answers to it. But blasted, I had questions. Just wasn't sure if I was brave enough to ask them yet. Then, I saw my breath. It was a cold feeling, like someone had placed their hand on my shoulder, and their hand was made entirely of pure ice. "What's going on?" I asked. "He's giving you a boon." "A what?" "A boon. He says that if you are on the verge of death, he will save you, but just once. So, basically a second chance at life." "In a sense, yes," Connor added. "So, let me get this straight. We have a million different people on their way to try and kill us, and he's giving me a chance to continue fighting, even if it's a lost cause?" "Even if it's a lost cause, he will save your life." Blasted. That feeling of basically being immortal temporarily, it's not a feeling I had known, and I'm not sure if I want that feeling, but blasted, it is a good feeling. And just like that, the feeling went away. And I had completely all but shut it out, because I didn't want anyone else knowing I could do something and death would come to my aid. Gabriel then chimed in and said, "Looks like we have a war to prepare for. With the mages on the horizon, who knows what the likely odds of this are?" "Isn't that just a rumor?" "Oh, there will be a war. I guarantee it." "How can you know?" "Rather simple. The actions we have caused here have brought great pain upon others. The mages now have their leverage. They'll use it against us." Blasted. Connor was right. This will only lead to more suffering, more dead hunters. "Shall we go prepare for this war?" I nodded. As I left the circle of containment room, a messenger walked up to me. It said, "Abigail Winter." I had only told a handful of people my actual last name. The fact that this was directed towards me was deeply troubling. It meant that someone I knew wanted to get my attention.